Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1998 and today's date is October 17th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Central Bank Up to Their Old Tricks, Nancy Pelosi Exposed on the Economy. Now, before we get started, let's talk about investing in the market. There's never been a better time in history to invest in the stock market and cryptocurrencies. Trade Genius over the last 30 days have netted its traders nearly 40% on their money from spot-on crypto and stock trades. Their binary options program overall record is now at 161 wins with 11 losses, and cryptocurrency trades are up over 550% on the year. Right now through October, for their Halloween specials, you can save over 50% off their bundle specials, and or use promo code Halloween40 for 40% off all non-bundled items. Check out TradeGeniusAcademy.com. Tell them X22 Report sent you. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the central bankers, they're up to their old tricks once again. And why I say this is if we look at the UK with the EU, you can see that they're pushing their same agenda. And Prime Minister Boris Johnson, he announced that a new Brexit deal has been brokered between the UK and the EU. He tweeted out the following: "We've got a great new deal that takes back control. Now Parliament should get Brexit done on Saturday so we can move on to other priorities like the cost of living, the NHS, violent crime, and our environment." Now, the entire solution to all of this, the deal, looks a lot like Theresa May's deal. And it seems this is why the EU is agreeing to it. Now, of course, Boris Johnson has to present this to Parliament. What did Parliament do with Theresa May's agreement? Voted it down. Now, this might be his plan. Now, when we look at this, these are the things that they discussed. Northern Ireland will remain aligned to a limited set of EU rules, notably related to goods. This means that all applicable procedures on goods will take place at the point of entry into Northern Ireland and not across the island. For this purpose, UK authorities will be in charge of applying the Union's customs code in Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland will stay in the UK's customs territory. It will therefore benefit from the UK's future trade policy, but Northern Ireland will also remain an entry point into the single market. UK authorities can apply tariffs on products coming from third countries, so long as those goods entering Northern Ireland are not at risk of entering our single market. For goods at risk of entering the single market, UK authorities will apply the EU tariffs. Now, Nigel Farage is out there, and he's saying that this deal that was agreed upon between Boris Johnson and the EU is not a Brexit deal. He said, "We've taken 3.5 years to get to this point. If this was to be agreed, we then enter into years more negotiation for prize a free trade agreement, which we already know we will not get unless we surrender our territorial fishing waters and will not get unless we stay in regulatory alignment with the European Union." Farage said that the deal would mean the UK surrendering autonomy on making her own laws on employment regulation and the environment, as well as signing up the country to foreign policy and military policy commitments. And he says this looks a lot like Theresa May's deal, and we'll have to see how this all plays. Now, this could be a strategy of Boris Johnson. Present pretty much the same deal, let the EU agree upon it, have Parliament vote on it, have him vote it down, and then he moves forward with the no-deal Brexit. We'll have to see how this plays out, because if they go forth with this, I do believe is going to be a huge problem for the people that have voted for the Brexit. But once again, let's see how this all plays out. Now, here in the U.S., Trump and his administration, they made a deal with Mexico and Canada. But Congress, what have they done? They've done nothing. Well, the only thing they've done was try to push all these conspiracy theories, trying to get Trump out of office. Have they voted on the USMCA? No. Why haven't they? What's taking so long? What's the problem? Senator McConnell tweeted out the following: "Speaker Pelosi is still blocking the USMCA, a major deal that would create 176,000 new American jobs. Senate Democrats have filibustered defense funding and blocked a pay raise for our troops. Democrats' impeachment obsession is blocking urgent work for American families." So the question is, why is Nancy Pelosi doing nothing when it comes to the USMCA? Well, we need to remember, it was Mexico and Canada that already agreed. And Trudeau's government agreed not to call the USMCA up for a vote in the Canadian Parliament. Pelosi is waiting to see if Trudeau can win re-election. If Canada re-elects Trudeau on October 21st, Pelosi will announce that the labor provisions are not strong enough within the USMCA deal. The U.S. workers are not protected enough, and she is tabling any vote. Pelosi will then wait until after the 2020 election. Ratification of the USMCA would be a boost for the U.S. and North American economy. Do they want that? No. Do they want more Americans getting jobs? No. More growth in the economy is politically adverse to her interests and the deep state interests. So they're not going to go for it. And what they really want is they want a weakened economy so they can remove Trump. That's the plan. Now, for Canada's part of the scheme, Trudeau, if successfully reelected, will announce that Canada is waiting for the U.S. to work out the USMCA labor disagreements. Now, if Trudeau loses the election, then Pelosi loses her partner in the plan. As a consequence, Canadian ratification of the USMCA, well, that will go ahead, and it'll be outside of her control and the deep state control. Why do you think Obama came out of the shadows and tweeted the following? I was proud to work with Justin Trudeau as president. He's a hard-working, effective leader who takes on big issues like climate change. The world needs his progressive leadership now, and I hope our neighbors to the north support him for another term. They're worried that Trudeau might not get reelected, and they want to make sure that he stays in power because he will go along with their plan. But I do believe the Patriots have something to counter this. And it's just so funny how all of a sudden there were pictures of Trudeau that came out showing him in blackface. Now, the Patriots' plan, it is working. The central bank economic system created a wealth gap among the people. The deep state preys on this, so the bottom percentage depends on the government. This allows the deep state and the central bank to enslave the people. Trump and the Patriots, they are reversing all of this. Trump's Buy America, Hire American economy with the tightest labor market in decades has grown the wages of blue-collar workers more than any other income group out there. Now, the overall wage growth has seemed to slow down in recent months. But hidden in this data is the surge in wages for the American blue-collar and working class who are gaining more in pay than all other income groups. While the highest wage earners have seen year-to-year wage growth of about 2.5%, the lowest income wage earners have enjoyed almost double that growth. Now, this had to be done. Trump needs to close the wealth gap, and this is what he is doing. Remember, the central bank, the deep state, they create this wealth gap because they want everyone dependent on the government. That's where the deep state takes over. And if you have these individuals dependent on the government, you can enslave the people. Yes, I know through taxes you're also enslaved, but let's take one step here at a time. We need to understand that Trump, the Patriots, they're working as quickly as possible, controlling the economic narrative, removing certain blocks, draining the swamp, battling other individuals, and you can see there's a lot being done. Can you imagine if all the blocks and all these people wanted everything for the American people? How much do you think would get done? Now, Moody's is out there, and they put out a report saying that when looking at their 2020 presidential election models, early signs point to Trump, though the turnout is the key. Now, in the Moody's report, the report pointed out that in order for Trump to win in 2020, the voter turnout will be very important. And if voters were to vote primarily on the basis of their pocketbooks, the president would steamroll the competition, taking home 351 electoral votes to the Democrats' 187, assuming average voter turnout. And Trump is betting on this. And think about everything else that he's done. And whoever controls the economic narrative, they control it all. And we can see the Patriots, they're controlling it right now. Now, the IMF, they've been out there in the last couple of days, and they've been talking about how the trade wars, how this is affecting the global economic system, where the trade wars are slowing everything down. And the IMF, they kind of goofed up here. They admitted that the policy that they were pushing for years has led the world to the edge of disaster. Now, the IMF, they are seeing growing vulnerabilities in the shadow banking sector, non-bank financials, which include structured finance vehicles, asset managers, finance companies, with vulnerability levels having reached similar levels seen at the height of the global financial crisis. The search for yield has led them to take on riskier and less liquid securities. These exposures may act as amplifiers to shocks. Mr. Adrian points this out, part of the IMF. Corporate debt, where it's around 40%, is a huge risk of being in default in the 8 economies the IMF studies. So what is their solution to all this? Their response is this, that they shouldn't get rid of the policies that have caused these excesses in the first place, but to introduce new macro-prudential tools to mitigate vulnerabilities. So they're going to keep the policies that they put forth that caused all of this, and they're going to keep them, and they're going to come up with some other tools to try to mitigate the vulnerabilities. So they just admitted that their policies are the cause of all of this. Now, we knew this. Has nothing to do with the trade wars. This is the central bank economy. It is designed to fail. It's designed to make everyone feel good in the beginning, just like a drug. And everyone feels great because the currency is devaluing, which means you see inflation. That means instead of the $30,000, or I should say the $5,000 salary, that moves up to $30,000. Your house moves from, $25,000 up to $50,000, and you feel incredible. Oh, wow, look at this. This is incredible. It's the trap. And as you move forward, you can't survive on that income. Then your spouse, or whoever else you're with, needs to get a job. If you have children, both of you have to be working. That's not enough. Then you have to get credit cards just to get by. Then you need to take a loan out to get your car. Then you need to take a mortgage out. Then financing is not the answer because it's too expensive. Then you have to move to leasing to make it cheaper for the people. Then you're able to take out more credit cards and more credit cards. And soon, the credit debt, the car debt, the college debt, the debt of just buying everyday goods catches up with everyone. So everyone feeling good in the beginning, in the end, those people who are just starting out, or those people who entered in the middle, they don't feel so great. They don't see it because everything is moving in the opposite direction. Wages start to decrease. Production starts to decrease. And I'm talking about manufacturing because they're moving all the jobs out. And pretty soon, everything starts to fall apart. And that's what we've been seeing. And it just doesn't happen in one country. Since the central bank is around the world, it's affecting almost every single country. And that's why we have a global economic problem. Because their system is designed to implode after 50, 60 years around that time frame. And guess what? We're right at that point. This is why Trump and the Patriots are preparing to move us into a parallel economy. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.